Hey guys, Al Spence here for Gulf Coast Custom Models. Guys, here's the Duster. This is the one I'm going to use for the Sox and Martin Pro Stock. Now, you got to remember, this is a 70s car. So, I can't use a newer Pro Stock kit for the motor and stuff. They didn't have Lenco transmissions back in this day. They didn't even have a tube frame for this car. They were still had the fender wells cut out and stuff. But they did remove the gas tank a lot of times. And they were allowed to use a fuel cell in the trunk, usually with the battery too. Some of them put the battery like behind the front seat passenger side. They'd put it like in the back seat. They'd pull the back seat out, and it would be in a floorboard there where they could get to it faster and easier. Then they started using it in the trunk for the weight. To make better bite for the slicks. Now, I haven't done much on this. Here's just kind of like the body sitting on. I wanted to show you this. Normally, I would have tried this if I wasn't doing this kind of like build along. If somebody else wants to grab this kit, I'll slow up. And you can build along or whatever. But this is a NASCAR chassis out of a Pontiac, you can see. It fits pretty darn good, and the tubs are a little bigger on it, okay? However, in case other guys are going to build along and you want to see what's going on, I'm going to use the factory chassis that came with the kit. I just put this hood scoop on here temporarily. I wanted to make sure that's the kind they used. You see, I got it cut out, so that's all I did on that. Now, here's the chassis. It fits perfect the way it should. It's got the front end that you got to put on later. But all I did before I started this, I made an announcement if anybody wanted to follow along. I cut the trunk out. I use a Dremel and a diamond tip cut blade I got at, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's or even Ace True Value has them. I ran the blade right down the inside of the frame rail here and here. I flipped it over and it cut down along the back of the hedge here where the end of the trunk was and down here and took it out. This will have a flat piece of styrene laid in it. Will fit perfect. Okay. Now, I left these tubs on. I didn't take them off yet. I'll show you. I cut the tubs out with a Dremel. It's easier to take and cut this along here from the fender well up to the frame. Try not to hit the frame. And then I did it here and here. And then I come up here. As you can see, I cut. This is where the shackles bolt on for the leaf springs. So I left the holes there and I cut just in front of it. Alright. Then I flip it over and I cut right down along the seam of here. I let the blade sink in. And I run it down this way till it hits here. And I run it this way and stop. Now, you see these indents? This is what makes it putting wider slicks on this impossible, trying to tub this out. So, we cut them out. And these are basically come out pretty easy now, see? And you pop this one loose. Boom. Now, when you lay this bad boy in here, you can see you can get some good sized tires on it now. Now, this is the harder part. I'll show you what I do later. I'm going to have to get styrene. I arch my styrene. I get the height right because you got to get the height from here. You can see I got it marked. I'm going to have to cut the fender wells out a little, round them out. I'll use a sanding head for that on a Dremel. It's called a cylinder sander. But you really got to make sure when you make your tubs for here. Where's my finger? There. When you make your tubs on here, that they don't come up and hit the back of the trunk too high. Now, a lot of guys say, well, it'd be easy just to use a Camaro, chassis off that 84 Camaro or something. There's a problem with that. And that is, if you look at that Camaro tub, you see how these fender wells come out and they flare out off the side. It does the same thing with the Camaro, except they're higher and they're real wide. So what happens, this body is not made for a Pro Stock. So when this body goes down on them tubs of like that 84 Camaro, you can't get the tubs to slide over these fender wells here. They stick out like this far. It's real bad. It's unworkable. I didn't even mess with it. I gave up. But this NASCAR chassis, this might be a dandy handy for any super stock type build in the future. That would probably fit a 70 Camaro. Several. So, but I'm going to use the factory chassis just to show you guys, some of you guys, how I really do a full-blown tubbed out, remove the gas tanks, everything. And I'll take my Styrene and I'll arch it up to where it fits and looks right. And then what I'll do, I'll put a rubber band on them and make them, you know, shaped like that. Kind of excessive, because when you do it, you relax it, it'll come out and it might be a little better. So, with that being said, when I get the two molded and ready to go into this, I'll show it to you. I'll do a little video. Then the hard part after that is cutting this out for the shape of the tub to cover this in. This area behind it. A lot of people just use putty and putty the heck out of it. I'll cut a piece of Styrene and get it close as I can before I put the putty to it. All this is going to get putty. All this. You want it putty it and sand it so it looks right. I mean, when it's done, you want it to look like it was almost factoried. And that's almost, because I don't care what anybody says how good they are, you can't never get them to look exactly factory. I mean, come on. You know, we're human. But anyways, the problem with using stock kit bodies, such as this AMT Duster, is the fact the body is not as wide as the Pro Stock kits. If I put this onto that Camaro, this body would literally, you could take that Camaro body and set it down on top of this and it would swallow it. It's got big high shoulders back here on the Camaro Pro Stock that are pretty wide, and these fender wells are cut out and almost squared on there for the tires. You can see I got mine marked, and I won't sand to the line. I'll sand right just before the line and stop, and then I'll use sandpaper. But that's kind of where I'm at now. You know, I get a little anal on stuff. I puttied in the tail lights already and the parking lights and sanded them. Well, because the Pro Stock car, if you look online like I do, Google 72 Soxon Martin Pro Stock Duster. That's what I Google. And you'll see this car, and you'll notice it does not have the little marker lights on it. And it's painted. So, guys, when you paint this car, you got to be ready, because it's a chore. It does take some good. You got to have I use, I'll show it to you too. I use pinstriping tape. Anywhere, AutoZone, Advanced, whoever. It's white. I get two sizes. I get real thin and I get real wide. Not real wide, like 11/16 or so. But that stuff, when you put it down on these seams of these doors, you can take your fingernail or something and rub it into the pinstriping to hold the seam. And it closes it up and keeps it from bleeding down through it and stuff. But you're going to get some. At least I do. But maybe, you know, you might pull it off better. I'll show you when I get the car. It'll be a while before we get to that. I'll end up shooting this body and the hood and probably the valance for the back. Shot white. I'll shoot it pure white. And I use that primer white so I can wet sand it a couple times and get it ready. Oh, sorry. Here, look. You notice there is no fender wells in this. I cut them out already. I should have covered that too real quick, but I am doing it now, ain't I? Dremel it. Get careful. Try not to cut through your front plate up here. That's where the radiator and stuff's going to sit right here by it. But you got to cut these out. It just looks better. They had it, like, if you look at the car, you can see it. They have actually some bracing on it. So you'll want to use that. But just be careful cutting them out. I cut mine out from underneath generally. I'll cut right on the edge of this lip because the shock tower is going to hook here, so I leave this on. But you just run it down through here as far as you can. I let it dig in, cut the middle out. And then I run it forward up to here a little bit, and I run it back. You got to flip it over and either bring your Dremel in like here with the cut head. Where's my finger? Down this way onto it to finish latch sawing it, or you can even take it in from this side and nip this out here. Rotate your body around and bring the Dremel in from this side. But that's just how I do it. I've never left the fender wells in it. You might want to. I don't know. But by keeping these, if you cut these out and hang on to them from the back, or right here, you can kind of get a generalization of how you got to form your tubs when you make them up in here. So that'll help. Now, I've seen some guys, if you want to tub it wider, you got to cut the frame out. And if you cut that frame out, you got to replace it with another piece of frame and run it down a little closer in. This will be good for the tubs I want. Remember, guys, this is 71, 72, 3, 4. They were limitations on how wide the slicks could be in Super Stock. This was Super Stock / Pro Stock before it was Pro Stock. Okay? Grumpy Jenkins coined the term Pro Stock and stuff in Pomona, California when he brought that little Nova out there and got all radical and jumped a tube frame under it, put a 427 in it, and ran tunnel ram the carbs out of the hood with a hood scoop and stuff. That's how they ended up actually making it. And Hemi come along with the 426 and everything, was cleaning house, and Grumpy had to he had to think out of the box. And so, plus, Super Stock class stayed, and then they got the crazy machines and named it Pro Stock. So that's, you can read the history on that. Oh, on this kit, I'm not sure about the monogram in this one. It's got 2 holes in here in the trunk where that little spoiler wing mounts. You can't tell, but I putted it in. Okay, both sides, and I sanded it. Maybe you can see from the bottom a little better. Yeah. See that little shiny stuff? Okay, so that way when I spray over it, you won't see it. And I'll, a couple coats of wet sand it out. And then I'll shoot my blue roof, the stripes, cover that, and I'll shoot the red panels into it. So, but it'll be a while before we get to that, guys. But that's the scoop. There's the duster. That's what I got done. Now, hang on, I gotta lay this down. Let me just prop it here or something. Hang on. Most of these parts in this kit will not be used. There's your door panels. Now, if you guys choose to cut the doors out and everything, this is a good kit because you can see the door panels are separated here. You just have to cut it right here, and you got a door panel, put it on, hinge it. I'm not doing that. But I will use some parts. I've already got the motors. I put the heads on it, and I stopped. This is why I said you guys are going to follow along, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to glue the halves together, put the heads on, and you're up with me. This motor, guys, is a 426, and it is out of the 68 Dodge Dart Hemi kit. Okay, that Hemi Fight or something it's called. But it's you've seen it. I might have a picture of the box. I'll show you. But I got that out of there. I got a rear end I'm going to use from it. I got some spindles and stuff I'll need from it. These are extra parts that came out of the NASCAR kit. I didn't know I might need the wheel backs. The shock towers. That was if I used this one. But we're going with this, so we're good. This is out of the Nova, the 66 Pro Street. I may use this rear end. I haven't decided. I'll let you know when I get there. Drive shafts, save them, because you're going to change the distance and everything. So you may have to cut the yoke off the end of the drive shaft here, cut it back and move it back a little. So, well, we'll find that out when we get there. This is out of the Dodge Dart Hemi kit. See, I need the valve covers. He ran Kragers on the early car, but they also, later on, they went to Centerline, so I'm not sure. You can use either. I'm probably going to put Kragers on mine. Here's the chrome for the Duster. I'm only going to use the front grille and back grille. The rims and everything else is gone. There's the mirror. I'll use the mirror and the 4-speed. No side mirrors. They didn't run side mirrors. So, and I keep my glass always covered up really well. I hate scratched glass. Other than that, that's it. You can use all the stock parts out of here if you want. They did put a heavy-duty rear end under theirs. That's why I looked at that 66 Nova rear end. Pretty much everything else in here, like no back seat. I'll use the door panels. I'll use the dash. The seats, I've seen two. I've seen Duster seats, but I've also seen some low back Plymouth seats, super stock seats they call them. It looks like what's out of the little red wagon, okay? And again, here's my parts pack. This is my Mad Pack. I save a lot of drag racing parts and stuff just for this purpose right here. Now see, I got a motor right here built, but it's got a Lenco tranny. They didn't have Lenco back in, so I can't use that. Here's them other centerline rims, like I was talking. I used to call them chrome reverse, but they're called centerlines. I got a high-rise, vintage Pro Stock high-rise and carburetors. I got some Lakewood traction bars. They ran Lakewood traction bars. And there's the seats. These are out of the Nova, but they're low bucket back seats, low bucket seats. So it's as close as I got, and I'm not opening up. I got a little red wagon, but it's that whole tractor trailer setup. I'm not going to open it. But here's the seats. I'll probably end up using these. They used to use the low back buckets. I guess it was something about Sox liking that better when he shifted, so. But that's it. That's some extra parts I got. Here's the taillights for it. You don't want to use limb. It'll look goofy. And if you got to make some for it, you won't forget it. So anyways, there you go, guys. Grab your parts, get your spare parts, get a bag together, let's build. If I feel like it tonight, I'm doing kind of rough. I've been back and forth to the airport several times, my buddy from Ohio and stuff. I will cover this end, and I'm going to make tubs for it. I won't glue them or putty them in yet. I'm going to show you what they look like when I call it curing, when I got them getting bowed to help them stay down better. I'll show you that process. And then I'll go from there, and I'm going to mount the rear end, and I'll mount my front end suspension on it and get the wheels, because why? I want to get the stance. I want this baby. Now remember, it's the 70s. These things weren't slammed to the ground. They weren't slammed over the wheels back then. They actually used to sit a little high and stuff, so you'll have to look at the car online to see what I'm talking about. This isn't a slant wheel. I'm building as close to replicated I can of a 71, 72 Pro Stock Duster that ran back in the day. So anyways, I'll let you know. Let me pack this up, and I'll holler at you guys later. Again, it's Alan Spence for Gulf Coast Custom Models. I'm going to try and put that 67 Chevelle up tonight, or the rear end Morrison, so watch for that if you want. Man, thanks everybody for following me. I appreciate it. I surely do. I'm almost 1,000 followers, which to somebody it's a drop in a bucket. For me, I'm tickled pink. When I hit 1,000, I'm not sure what to do. I think I'll get one of those number things online and pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and maybe just ask everybody that's following along to throw a number out or something, or maybe I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me a holler. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Al Spence here for Gulf Coast Custom Models. We'll holler at you later. Take care.